Hey guys, it's Tammy. So I'm going to start my preparing for winter photography series. It's going to be broken down in 2 different sections and each will have their own videos. The first section is going to be preparing your gear. That'll be done over 2 videos. Preparing your gear for winter photography is important because you don't want to get out in the field and find out, well, crap, I'm not prepared for this. So there's going to be 2 sections on preparing your gear and we're going to go over the first section now. So when you think about winter photography, what are some of the things that come to mind? What do you think of? I normally think of the cold, the wind, the sleet, the rain, the snow, the ice, and my camera batteries. How am I going to keep my camera batteries from losing their battery power? Because for every 50 degrees in temperature drop that you have in Fahrenheit, can be in Celsius as well, you lose 50% of your battery power. I don't want that to happen while I'm up there because if you look at my batteries for my camera, they're not that big. Okay, you've got my Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II battery and you've got my Panasonic G85 battery. Now, I know how many batteries I will get out of my Olympus because I've had it for a year and a half now and I can generally get about 2.5 to 3 hours out of one battery and I go through about 2 batteries when I'm out. But my Panasonic G85, I have no idea because it's so new to me. I've only had it for about 3 weeks now. So I don't know how long that's going to last. And I carry 4 of my Olympus batteries and 4 of my Panasonic batteries with me at all times. So I've got a lot of batteries. So how do I keep these from losing their battery power so fast? There's a couple things that you can do to make sure that your batteries stay nice and charged while you're out there. And that's simply keeping your batteries warm. That is crucial to keeping your battery power where it needs to be or as close as you can get it. And there are a couple ways that you can do that. The first way is simply just placing your batteries inside of your pocket. Whether it's on the inside of your jacket or on your snowsuit that you have. Mine has a big zipper compartment that's really deep. For like a cell phone, I can place batteries in. I don't put them on the outside of my pockets because I'm pulling my hands in and out of there. I've got cleaning cloths in there. I've got lens caps in there. And I just don't trust they're going to stay warm enough. Yeah, I could put a hand warmer inside of there, but I don't think it's going to be warm enough and I'm going to pull my hands out with my big old gloves on them and drop my batteries in the snow and lose them. So I typically don't do that. The other way that you can do it as well is, you know, you've got 8 batteries. We're talking 8 of my batteries. That's a lot of batteries in a lot of different pockets. I'm going to have batteries everywhere. That's crazy. But if you only carry a couple of batteries at a time and you only have one camera with you and you don't vlog or you have, you know, the same camera, so you're vlogging with the same camera that you're using for photography, then you may not carry as many as I do. Putting them in your pockets all over you is not going to be a big deal. But if you don't, you can always take a waterproof bag. This is a Sea to Summit. This is the 1 liter. They do come smaller than this. Mine's currently housing my spikes for my boots, my ice spikes. But you can simply just take your batteries, drop them down inside, and then take a hand warmer, activate it, and drop that down inside. The hand warmer does not get hot enough to harm the batteries or the bag, and that helps keep them warm. The other thing that you can do is you can take your batteries and leave them, like if I keep mine in a little case and they're numbered so I know how to use them, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can just simply take a hand warmer that's been activated, place it against the back and slide it back down inside your camera bag wherever you stored it. And the radiated heat will help keep them warm. The other thing, and I've seen 1 or 2 people do this and I can't figure out how they do it, but I have an L bracket on my photography camera and it sits high up off of the bottom, but on my Olympus or my Panasonic G85, I might be able to do this, but they've figured out a way on how to take a hand warmer and put it up against the bottom of their camera, up against their battery compartment, and it keeps the radiated heat goes up into there and it keeps that warm. How they do that, I don't know. I have yet to figure out how they attach it. But I've heard of people doing that and seen a couple people do that, and I have yet to figure out how they keep it on there. So that's another thing that you can do if you can figure it out. And that is a great way of keeping your batteries nice and warm so that way they don't die on you when you're out in the field. And you can do this bag trick with the hand warmer with any battery that you have. You can do it with your alkaline batteries that you would put inside of your Zoom H1 or any of your audio equipment. You can do it if you have a gimbal battery set that you need to keep warm that's extra. You can do that and then just simply seal it up and place it back inside your camera bag. And that is a good way of keeping your batteries warm so that way they last you a little bit longer while you're out in the field. Now we've got your batteries for your camera covered, but there's one battery that people don't think about that can save your life if you need it, and that's your cell phone. Your cell phone is crucial when you're out because it's your GPS, it's your lifeline to 911 or however you call for help in your country, because I know in the United States it's 911. But this also is something that, you know, if you have an app that you need to get to do the sunrise or the sunset with your epiphemoris or your TPE, controls your camera, anything like that. This is normally in my camera bag because I have a watch that I do everything through, but that watch is dependent upon my phone. If it's not charged, my phone doesn't work or my watch doesn't work. So I need to make sure that this thing stays charged. So before I leave the house, I make sure it's charged while I'm in the car. I'm charging it on the way there. And then when I get to my location, how do I make sure this stays warm? How do I make sure that this is going to do what I need it to do and that I'm not dropping it or anything? Well, what you can do is, and I've used this before, is this is called an Aqua Pack. They're about $25 on Amazon. I got lucky and got them on clearance at Dick's at the end of the season. I bought these for kayaking. And I've used them previously, and you just drop your phone down inside, you seal it up, and then you just place it around your neck, and you just take it and put it inside your coat. And it's against your body. That radiated heat is heating the air that's trapped inside that bag, and it's keeping your phone warm and your battery charged. We all know that cell phones do not work well in the cold, and in the heat they'll shut themselves off once they get to a certain temperature. So you want to make sure that that temperature is consistent. And then when you need it, you take it out, and you can still use the phone and all your apps. On the iPhone 10, the face recognition works through the bag. I've done it before, and you can still use everything, and you don't have to worry about dropping this in the water or the snow or anything like that. Now, some of you are going to say, but the newer phones come with water resistance. Yes, they do. But if you don't have an iPhone 10 or you don't have a Samsung that has the water resistant or the active ability that it has, then you're SOL. So this is a good way for those that don't have the newer phone to be able to protect their phone and keep their battery charged. And that will work just as well, and it's in a safe, secure location. Also, if you keep it inside your coat pocket just the way it is and not have it in a bag, and you've got those big thick gloves on that we have for photography with the 2 fingers that we can peel the tops back, those things are fumbly. I've actually dropped my phone in the snow before, and I've dropped this thing in the creek already once this year. So, you know, that's a way that you can avoid that as well. So now we have our batteries protected, and we have an idea of what we're going to do to keep our cell phone up, so that way we don't have to worry about, that's the one thing about these things, is getting them out of the bag once you get them in. Oh my goodness, really? It's in there when it's in there, guys. All right, so that's the one thing we can do for that. And that helps me keep everything charged and ready to go. Now, the one thing I want to talk to you about next is your memory cards. Your memory cards are all rated for a temperature. When you purchase your memory cards, all the manufacturers have a temperature rating set to them of how you can use your card, what temperature ranges your cards will work in. All of the manufacturers that I found and spoke with, their temperature ratings are between minus 13 degrees Fahrenheit and 185 degrees Fahrenheit for them to be able to use the card. If you go below minus 13 or above 185, they can't guarantee the cards will work. So when you go to buy your cards, make sure that you buy them for the environment and the temperatures that you're going to be going to. If you're going to be going to a place where you know those temperatures are going to be minus 25, minus 30, minus 40, all the way up to minus 50, these cards might not be the best for you. You may have to search and find a card that's going to work for that environment. So when you buy a card, all the older cards that we used to purchase had nothing. They were rated for a certain temperature, which I don't even know what that is anymore because they don't have them listed on their websites. None of them were water resistant. They weren't shock proof, freeze proof, magnet proof, x-ray proof. They weren't any of those things. All of your newer manufacturers and your newer cards, they are rated for that. SanDisk was the first one to start that, and they guarantee that their cards are water resistant up to a point. They're all that way now. Sony, PNY, Kingston, all the cards that I named earlier, they're all water resistant up to a point. And that is 1 meter of water up to 72 hours, whether it's fresh or salt water. That's about 39 to 40 inches of water, but they have to be clean and dry before you can use them. And they all say this. They're shock resistant, they're magnet resistant, they're x-ray resistant. They all have that now, being able to compete. SanDisk was the first one to start that, and then everyone else just followed suit after as the cameras grew and they grew in their ability to be able to do things. There is one micro SD card on the market by Kingston that is rated for minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 185 degrees Fahrenheit, but that's only their micro SD. Their SD cards are still rated for the minus 13 to the to the 185. So you have to be careful when you're selecting your SD cards based on your temperature. Now, when you're storing your cards and you're getting ready to go where you need to go, say for instance you're going to the Arctic Circle and the temperatures there can drop very quickly, very fast, and get very, very low, you might need an extreme or rugged card. And they do make those on the market. They're very costly and they're very expensive. I know Sony makes one called the Tough, and it is rated for the exact same temperature as everybody else, minus 13 Fahrenheit to 185 Fahrenheit. However, their water resistance, you can have that in up to 72 hours in 15 feet of water, whether it's fresh or salt, but it still has to be clean and dry before you can use it. You have to check those things before you go out. So what I've done is all of my cards, in researching for this video for the memory cards, I went through all of my cards and I researched all of them to make sure that they were what I needed for the area that I live in. It's very rare that here in Northeast Ohio our temperatures will get below minus 13, but we have had minus 25 temps here before. And you know, you're taking that chance of the card not working when you go out, but then again, you don't even know if you're going to open a brand new one and you're in 80-degree weather, whether or not it's going to work either. So it's kind of a give or take. But what I did is I always started out with just a little soft case. And this is the Think Tank SD card case. And it's done very well for me, except when I dropped it in the lake a couple of times. And my cards got soaked. And I had some older cards that were not water resistant and it ruined them. And I lost everything on them. So you have to know what your cards can handle before you go out. Once I did that, I moved up to a hard case. And this is a Pelican case. It's made by Pelican. They guarantee that anything marked waterproof is waterproof. I've dropped this in the lake a few months ago. I've had it in snow. I dropped it in a creek a few times. I dropped it in a mud puddle at Sandy Ridge and it was covered in mud. I washed it off in the bathroom, not a drop of water in it. It was completely sealed and completely dry. And for the SD cards, you can store your micro SDs underneath them. And then your SD cards go on top. And I keep my micro SDs in here for my GoPro and for my audio. And then they do make these for compact flash as well. But this was $20 at Best Buy. You can get these on Amazon. You can get them from Pelican. You can get a generic case as well, but I don't trust their waterproofing because Pelican guarantees it. If you get water in there, they will replace it. All of their cases are that way. So this is what I moved to. And if you don't want to spend the 20 bucks, you're on a very tight budget and you just don't have the money right now and you don't want to go to a hard case, but you want to keep this soft case, because granted, I paid, I think, $35 for this. You know, there is a way that you can protect this from the elements and from water, and that's using the same bag you used for your cell phone. You just take the string off, open it up. You can slide your case down in, close it up, and now you've got a waterproof case for your SD cards, or your compact flash, or your micro SD, however you want to do it. And I know a gentleman who used this. I used this when we went kayaking last year, and it worked really, really well. I was kind of surprised it worked as well as it did, but the only thing I found with doing it this way is I have my big gloves on, and I know I have these 2 fingers, 4 fingers actually, where the tops flip back to do my camera controls, but these guys aren't, and I was fumbling with this a lot, and I dropped it in the snow 2 or 3 times trying to get the memory cards out. So that's the one thing you have to take in consideration, where with this one, I just flipped it open, grabbed my card, closed it back up, and I was done. I had no fumbling, no flipping, no nothing. So that's the one thing you need to make sure of whenever you're dealing with your with your SD cards and your memory cards. I wasn't going to put this part in the video because it was so technical and so drawn out, and some of the information I found was absolutely just like, are you serious? There's another thing that people don't think about either, and I know this has to do with winter photography, but I want to caution you on any time you take a micro SD somewhere. If you're going to the jungle, or you're going to Costa Rica, or anywhere where there's high humidity, these cards are susceptible to humidity, and there's a range of humidity they can take and they can't take. So you need to find that out as well. And I didn't know that until I was doing research for the video so I could give you guys the proper information, and I was like, oh crap, humidity. So you need to take that into consideration when you're traveling as well. And if you look up any website for preparing for any type of a trip, for winter photography, for any type of thing, they will mention how to protect your SD cards. So that is one thing people don't think about. Make sure you know where you're going and whether it can handle it. Now, the next part of this is going to be how to protect your camera from the elements themselves, and how to bring your camera and transfer your camera from hot to cold and cold to hot.